I will just give a brief introduction of Dr. Renu Swaroop. Dr. Renu Swaroop served the Department of Biotechnology for more than 30 years, and she superannuated as the secretary, the secretary of Department of Science and Technology. And she was also the chairman of BIREC, which is called as a Biotechnology Industry Research Assistantship, which is one of the most successful organization in the entire scientific arena, which has funded more than 1,000 startups and changed the scenario of science and the entrepreneurship in the country. She led a network of 16 also autonomous research institutions, 2 public sector undertakings, and I was fortunate to be chairman of one, an R&D network of more than 5,000 research projects across 100 research institutions, universities, laboratories, and so on. The list of awards and recognitions are very long, but I will just name some very important. She was awarded Biospectrum Person of the Year 2012, National Entrepreneurship Award 2017, the TIE Women Enabler Award 2018, Dr. P. Shield Memorial Award 2018, National Academy of Science India, NASI, and TWAS Regional Office Prize, very prestigious one, of Science Diplomacy in 2018, and she has been awarded Agriculture Research Leadership Award 2019. She is also scientific experts on the Advisory Board of International Pandemic Preparedness. So, having so much of work, managing so many of academic and scientific laboratories, I never saw Dr. Renu Swaroop in a stressed mode. Always smiling, and that's what both of our speakers said, and that is the art of personality development. I think we need to learn from her. So thank you very much. So over to Dr. Renu Swaroop for giving your experience to this gathering.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gupta, for these very, very kind words. A little embarrassing for me at some point of time, but thank you so much. It's always been a pleasure to be with all of you. And yes, you said it. I was also very pleased to be part of your leadership development program in the last session. And compliments to you, your team, your president, and everyone for putting this together. Because I think what you have or what you're trying to achieve through this is very important. I caught the last few words of what you were mentioning at the conclusion of the last session, where you said, these are some stories, but it's important that you write your own story. I think that's crucial for every aspect. We can't teach leadership development. Leadership development comes from within, but through dialogue such as this, through interactions such as this, through peer-to-peer interactions, people who've done that, who walked the journey through, you pick up pieces and then you make your own journey. And every leader, I think, paves a full path for himself or herself and prepares their own self in their own way, because everyone has their own inherent qualities. There is no one, I think, who has only strengths. Everybody has certain weaknesses. So it's important how we work on taking our strength forward, but we work internally on identifying our own weaknesses and converting them into strengths. Only we can recognize our own weakness. People outside may, but no one better than you can recognize. And that's the journey of a leader. So today, in these next couple of minutes, I thought, as has been mentioned to me by Dr. Ramesh Kapil and others, they had sent a set of certain issues that you would want. I think that's part of every journey that we talk. Share with you what really has been my experience in this. And Let me also share this with you. When we talk about leadership, I think it's not just when I was heading the Department of Biotechnology as secretary, or when I was the chairperson of BIRAC, is when I would say that, okay, that's really when, or those years are only which get counted into my leadership journey. I think the whole journey of evolving as a leader is important. So you rightly said, some are already heading organizations, some are in the path towards it, and this is right time to see how your leadership journey moves ahead. So what really is a leadership? What is a leader? It's an important question for us to ask. Who is a leader? Why is it so important for us to have strong leaders, not only to lead organizations, but to lead teams, to lead groups, to lead missions, to fulfill the objectives of which every organization that they're serving would want to achieve. And that's really what a leader is. So what really is leadership all about? It's about somebody who provides a very large vision. And I think first and foremost, I feel a leader must have a very broad vision. A leader must have confidence, and with that confidence, provide that direction. Because if you do not, or if you have a directionless leader, you're not going to have many people following that leader, and you'll only be left saying, I have no choice, and in an organization you can't choose your bosses. So I have a boss, but I don't have a leader. And I think that's really where the difference between being a boss and being a leader comes in. You don't have to be a boss to be a leader. So I think that's really important, and every leader does not have to be a boss of a particular person. That's how you move forward. It's important that you let your team work with you and carry forward that vision, that mission that you're looking forward to, and more importantly, become part of it, own it. I think that's that collective responsibility which the team has to take forward. And as a leader, you have to take the responsibility of getting your team together to start, collectively owning that particular vision, mission, or want to see. But it's also very important then as a leader, if you're trying to build this whole team to move forward, that you provide the right environment which allows at every level of your team, persons who are involved in it, to have the confidence to take correct decisions. And I think that effective decision making comes from the top. And that again is the next major trait that we will talk about as we move into this, to see how important it is. It's all the leader to take proper, correct decisions, identify the right people who will form part of the team, and most importantly, help these teams and nurture them to be the future leaders. Many a times we say so-and-so is an excellent leader, but you don't see a second line of leadership emerging. I personally feel I do not give too much of standing to this sort of a leader who's not built a second line of leadership. It's important to nurture, let those leaders come up in the organization. That's really when you have been an effective leader. When is it that you don't allow such effective leadership to build or grow within an organization? Is when you are not confident about yourself, where there's a sense or a level of insecurity within you to say that, okay, am I sort of just the indispensable person who's going to take it? That's not true anywhere for any organization, be it government, be it private, be it anyone. So it's important for us to see that we take this forward. Now, we have to then look at what are those key principles that we need to follow when we move ahead in terms of leadership. What are the key qualities that we follow? In fact, on this particular point that I've been talking about, how you have to build leaders, there is a quote from Mahatma Gandhi which I would like to say. And he said, a sign of a good leader is not how many followers you have, but how many leaders you create. So you see, this is something that even Mahatma Gandhi in his philosophy brought out very clearly, that's really the sign of a good leader. And as I said, the leader has to then delegate those responsibilities so that the team members believe in what is the larger mission, vision that we are talking about, own it, and collectively become part of that team to take it forward. How does this happen? This happens when, as a leader, you bring in that, very clear level of confidence or understanding or belief in your team members, in your colleagues within the organization or teams as you work. What are we looking at? And in fact, if you look at the defense and since I come from a defense background, the Indian Military Academy at Dehradun, if you go there and defense people are given the best leadership training right when they become cadets, because for them, even a young officer who's just commissioned is sent right into the front and has to then command a team of soldiers, and they're given responsibilities. At that point of time, that young officer is the leader. May have put in only a month of commissioned service, but there's not number of years that he's put in. And now I can say he and she because we were in the army and defense as well. At that point of time when we were young, it was only the men who were taken in as officers. In IMA, there's a very clear statement which I don't recall exactly who it is from, but I remember the words, and I'll have to go back to IMA Dehradun or get somebody to give me that full quote again. But the whole purpose of that quote is, it's country first, organization next, and self last. And those words stayed engraved in my thoughts as I moved on through my career. Put your country first, put your organization next, put yourself last. And I think that really is the key mantra that helps you, without any vested interest, to look at how your organization can grow, and that's how your team will grow, and that's how you become really a leader. There is a very clear ABCD of leadership that I follow. I followed, and I hope, of course, as we move on, we'll do it. And the ABCD of it is, what is the A for it? You must have an ambition. As a leader, don't be over-ambitious, but be ambitious. If you don't have an ambition, what are you wanting to achieve? You'll take whatever it is. You're not then really ready to look at the next step or move into the next level. That only happens, then there would be complacency that set in. What is going on? Let it be status quo. As a leader, you're not raising the bar of whatever you're doing. You're not taking it to the next level. So ambition is very, very important for you to have. If you have an ambition, how do you take it forward? And as I said, most importantly, the leader has to believe in themselves. If you do not believe in yourself, you will not be able to, with conviction, say that I'm going to take this ahead. So you must have that level of confidence. You must have that level of conviction. And that comes from having belief in yourself. Nobody can put it into you. This is not a syllabus that can be taught to you. You must have that level of confidence. And that level of confidence comes when you have a complete hold of what you're doing. And that belief in yourself helps you to move to the next step. And then, of course, what is the C for it? The C is complete conviction and commitment to whatever you're doing. Everyone says you have to give your 100%. I say give more than your 100%. Because unless and until you walk that extra mile, walk that extra step, you are not being the leader. As team members, they'll come forward, but you have to take it forward. You have to lead from the front. If you're not leading from the front, the leader is not fulfilling his or her task the way they're supposed to do that. And the D of it is, clearly, you must have the determination to succeed with whatever you do. That does not mean going wrong. In my dictionary, I never call anything a failure. I always say we went wrong. We took this step because you look at with the best of your knowledge, your best of your thoughts, your best understanding, and you were confident that you could do it. But like all of us as scientists and researchers know, when we plan out a research experiment, it always doesn't go correct. If it did, that was not science or research then. There are many a time that the research doesn't do well. You have to come back to the drawing board, you have to spend again, you have to do your experiment again, learn from what experiences you had and what went wrong in your first experiment, and then move forward. Will you call that first experiment a failure? No. That was an experiment. The research work gave you an understanding. Many times when projects that we support close with no proper results, when I, even as a young officer in DBT, was handling programs and I would put out the final report if I knew that the scientist or the researcher had worked to the best of their ability, but did not achieve the results that they wanted to. The report that I would put up to the task force, and Dr. Gupta knows it, he's been sitting on many of our task forces, is they put in their best. We did not get the results that we wanted to. However, this was the learning that we have received from the project. And that really is what we move in. So your determination has to be there that we'll succeed. You go on and on and on, you will. You climb up 2 steps, you may have to come back 1, then you climb up 3 steps, and then you climb up 4 steps. But eventually you do succeed if that determination comes in there. Now, I think for this, the key questions that people generally ask is, how do you look at difficult situations? There are times when, as a leader, you are sort of, confronted with an issue where there could be 2 decisions that could be taken. One is a risky decision. One is a decision which is risky but required to achieve what you have to. The other one is the path of no resistance, but then you're just moving in a straight way, which I think what is important is there are 5 C's which I keep in my principles of looking at issues as they come to us. One is, you must be clear in your head. You must have clarity of thought, clarity of idea, and your mind must be very, very clear what your end point is. What are you wanting to achieve? If you have clarity of thought and you have conviction that what you're saying is correct, decision making will not at all. Because you must have confidence, as I said, in yourself, but clarity of thought as well to be able to take it forward. The third C onto this is, you must have the courage to take that risk. If you have the courage to take that risk, and as I said, the 4th is conviction, and the 5th, of course, what I just said is the C is the commitment to deliver. Then no decision making becomes difficult. I'll relate a small issue to you that I think I was just probably a scientist D or scientist E level officer and was handling a major program on bioprospecting. And this was a multi-institutional, multi-agency program with Department of Space, with Ministry of Environment, and even as a scientist, D-level officer, the then secretary, Dr. Manju Sharma, gave me that huge responsibility, and I very happily accepted that responsibility to take it forward. It was a very large budget. In those days, our budgets for large projects would be 1 crore or 2 crores. Now, of course, 1 crore, 2 crore is a normal project cost. This project was an SFC project, and it was running into some about 60 or 70 crores, and that was a huge amount, and subsequently it was to move into 100 crores. The financial advisor said, I need a presentation on this because I'm not convinced that Department of Biotechnology needs to invest into biodiversity. That's an environment ministry topic. Why will DBT get into biodiversity? Believe me, I must have made nothing less than 15 to 20 presentations to the financial advisor. Eventually, I convinced him that biodiversity for bioprospecting of genes is a DBT topic. That became one of our most successful programs, the DBT Department of Space program, which today, or not today, today is also running. When I superannuated, it was into its 3rd phase. We mapped the entire country. We went into the coral reefs. We went into the Andamans. And today, both DBT and Department of Space are proudly talking about it. So, but how could I do that? I was only doing it because I was convinced that this project is going to be important for the organization. So I think those are key issues, but we were taking a risk. We were not very sure whether we'll succeed. But if we had done biodiversity mapping at that level at which we were talking, is to 1:5,000 scale or 1:10, and going deep into specific species and then prospecting their genes, laying that. So that's a different program. I won't even get into it. But the point is, it was a risky issue. And then we wanted to see how do we do that. So I think the key characteristics, as I said, and which I'll go back to, is you have to be a visionary. Now, the visionary of the leadership at that point of time came from our leaders, and DBT today has been blessed with the fact that all the secretaries have provided huge leadership, whether it was Dr. Ramachandran, who was the first secretary, or Dr. Manju Sharma, who laid the foundations, and Dr. Bhan. To a team like this, I don't even need to speak about the visionary leader he was, and then Dr. Vijayarajan took it to it. So I think that visionary leadership is provided by the leader, and that really, what is important is, as a leader, even a sky is not the limit for you. You have to start thinking beyond that and saying, we can succeed. Nothing is impossible. And this is something that I learned very, very early on. In fact, my father, as I said, was in the defense, and his key message to me, even when I was a student, when I was a child, and I changed about 10 schools in my education, because that's how an army child grew at those days, moving with the parents everywhere, and would find it very difficult to exams and achieve the marks that we wanted to. But my father's clear mantra to us was, nothing is impossible. You can achieve it. And that sort of got ingrained deeply into us. And let me give you an example for this, nothing is impossible, and how it helped when I was working in the COVID times. All of you know how difficult COVID time was. We were given a very short window to produce the medical countermeasures, and you all know that. You know how difficult it was to develop the vaccines. You know how difficult it was to develop the diagnostic kits. But the philosophy that with which my whole team was working along with me is, nothing is impossible. We will do it. We did it. We did it successfully. There was a lot of risk involved. I mean, can you imagine government investing 100 crores into one industry to develop an mRNA platform? We never knew whether it will succeed. That's a different matter. It succeeded so well. Could we at any point of time think that in less than 60 days, when we were given the challenge by the minister, Dr. Harshvardhan, who was then the minister, he said, in less than 60 days, we want you to become self-sufficient in indigenous diagnostic kits for RT-PCR. There were no reagents available for our PCR kits. What did we do? I quickly called all the diagnostic members together. We brought in CCAM. We called all those who were making reagents for different aspects and said, we give you an aggregated demand, can you give us an aggregated supply? They did it. So what was driving from behind was the mantra, which not only, of course, me, but my whole team started believing in, that nothing is impossible. And I think that's really what is important that comes forward. And with this goes really that you must have a strong team. Do you think just one leader could have achieved the success in our most recent mission of the COVID? Not at all. There were huge teams. There were huge teams not only within your own organization, but inter-organization. DBT worked with ICMR, DBT worked with CSIR, with DST, with Pharma, Department of Pharma. We all worked together. It was that team and that team building spirit that had come within the organization helped us to say that. But for that, as a leader, it's very important responsibilities. Many a time leaders feel that if I delegate a responsibility, I'll lose time. I may not be able to achieve success the way I want to within the time frame. Yes, you're right. Delegating responsibility does not mean that you're making yourself free to go and do some other work. You have to put in more effort. But then that's how you're building the leaders, but also making the team feel a part of what has to happen or what they're going to deliver. When we did this whole vaccine mission COVID Suraksha, DBT would call it, at that point of time, I said, okay, the team was very, very to support so many projects, and we had 6 candidate vaccines which finally came out: the first DNA vaccine, the mRNA vaccine, the nasal vaccine. So we said, okay, we'll put up a tableau in the Republic Day parade. DBT Science Ministry normally doesn't come in with tableaus into the Republic Day parade. And my officers, I called them and said, let's do it. And they went in, they kept pitching for it. You know, it's not easy to get your tableau selected. And we made a tableau on COVID vaccine. It got selected. And attend the parade because of COVID, only secretaries and additional secretaries are allowed to be there. But let me tell you, it was not just a proud moment for me to see the tableau on the then Rajpath, now Kartavya Path. Each team member sitting in their own house, watching it on the television, was so super excited. And then eventually, the icing on the cake was our tableau received the first prize. And believe me, the excitement of the team to go and receive that prize, and we still have that photograph. If any of you walk into the DBT conference room, I hope those photographs are still there. The trophy is still there. You can see the team exuberant with excitement because they owned it. They felt a part of that team. But the message in that whole mission was very difficult decisions to take, high risk, with complete belief in yourself, and most importantly, we were confident that we will succeed. Nothing is going to be a failure. And I think those were key messages that we wanted to take forward. The other key message as I come towards, I think I'll be nearing my time of finishing, Dr. Gupta, because I can go on and on and on for hours and hours. So, but I'm conscious of the time because you have another speaker. So do I have about 5-7 minutes more? Okay.
Yes.
So what is important is whenever you take decisions in an organization, this is about a mission. So I'm talking about missions, the technical programs which work. There is another very important component which a leader has to look at, and that is the organizational structure, the organizational environment, the human resource part of it, the people who are at the heart of it. Those decisions also have to be taken. And for that, many a times there are difficult decisions to take. You have to change teams. You have to put people from one team to the other. You have to move people around, which may not be a very good thing for them to take because there is always a resistance to change. And there is a book that I always enjoyed reading. And when my younger colleagues, I would talk to them, I'll always say, who moved my cheese? That's a very good example of this. You don't want to change your path or change your direction at all because you're so comfortable. But I think if you have to make a difference, you have to move out of your comfort zone. It's not easy. It's difficult. That's a different thing that Covaxin production, of course, went into a different stage. But Professor Y.K. Gupta knows that BIPCOL, the public sector that he was chairing, we pushed them out of their comfort zone and said, get into the requirement of manufacturing Covaxin. We brought them up to a very, very advanced stage. Different matter. Thankfully, COVID came down, the peak went down. We did not need so much of Covaxin. That project was shelved and something else came in. But we moved them out of their comfort zone. I think those are difficult key decisions which the leader has to take. And that comes from what I just spoke about. Having belief in yourself, having commitment to deliver, having the confidence, the conviction. If you can do it, your team can definitely know that, yes, this is how we're going to take this forward and take it ahead. Now, many times there are decisions that have to be taken. People say, what is the difference between quick decision making and rash decision making? There's a lot of difference. A quick decision making is taken very quickly, and that comes with a clarity of thought, as I complete understanding of what the implications are, what the repercussions will be, what I just mentioned to you, being convinced about what you're trying to deliver, doing a proper fact check to say, does it work, does it not work? After doing that very quickly, taking a 360-degree perspective, you take a quick decision. A rash decision is taken on the spur of the moment, without thinking, just because it's a knee-jerk reaction, you need to respond. Rash decisions may not always be correct decisions. Their implications and their repercussions could at times be far-reaching. Because you've not looked at the 360 degree. So I think that is very, very important, that, and always and I say this clearly as a leader, yes, you have to always take decisions with a very clear thought, clear idea, but empathy is also very important being a leader when you're dealing with people. So always decisions taken by the head may not be correct. Sometimes you need to take decisions from the heart as well. And I'll give you a small example. We had an officer, wonderful officer. She was one of my best officers performing. When she went on maternity leave, she got into some gynec complications. She wanted to come back to work, but she could not join back after her 6 months. She said, I do want to come back. All she needed was flexi working hours. We do not have flexi working hours in the government system. As an exceptional case, I told the in charge of the HR, I said, I give her those flexi working hours. Let her come back. The other option she was giving is she was resigning. So she had left. She had exhausted all her leave. For 6 months, she did flexi working hours. Her productivity remained not only at par with other officers, but outparts many of them as well. She joined back after a year or 1.5 years with full conviction. She continues to be one of the best officers who's contributed greatly. I was not unhappy with the decision that I had taken. But there my decision was not exactly as per rule book, but it was also not something that was going against the organization. So these are decisions that you have to take at the spur of the moment. You have to see how it could work forward. So I think I can see Dr. Katoch is here. He's got his next talk. So I'm not going to between you and Dr. Katoch. He's been a leader for all of us. We had a lot of learning from you, and it's always a pleasure to hear him. But I think I'll conclude by just saying this to you, that, and for here, I'll actually bring out a quote from Henry Kissinger, because I just spoke about moving out of your comfort zone. Said the task of the leader is to get the people from where they are to where they have not been, because they've not even seen what is there. So you as a leader have to give them comfort that they can move to that particular level. And I think that's really what task that you have of what you're going to do. And the only mantra for success at any point of time, whether it's a young officer, whether it's a middle-level officer, or whether it's a leader, is of course hard work, more hard work, and harder and harder and harder work. But clearly, leadership, as I said, does not have any one single charted path that you can put out. Each of you will write your own journey. It's an important and a very critical aspect of how you work out your own journey. You write your path, you pick up the qualities, but the principles is what we can share with you. But each of you will have your own way in which you deal with your juniors, you deal with your colleagues, your subordinates, your superiors. How do you deal with the whole ecosystem? But the key mantras remain, of course, just moving in that positive direction. So I'll stop here. Thank you, Professor Gupta, for giving me this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to speak to all of you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sure that you must be listening to the so loud applause for you. And such a wonderful talk, full of messages, experience, and the advices. I think each and every sentence has a weight in it. And your talk will be available on the website of NAMS for anybody who would like to listen to it. And I would just say that I have seen Madam working in her office, always full of adrenaline. That's what I said in the morning. And always full of endorphin, very composed, determined, and always full of ability to take wise decision and not rushed or decision. And the COVID has really brought out all those things. And I was part of couple of meetings, discussion, and it was the team of not only biotechnology, health sector, commerce, and then pharmaceuticals and pharmaceutical industry, bringing them health sector together, delivery of the COVID vaccine, management. So I think that was that was the best example of how the leadership in India has shown, not only in India but globally, that the leadership in India is the best. And I think a lot of credit goes to Dr. Renu Swaroop. So I would say once again we should clap for her. Now, just one question from you. Say these are all the leaders here sitting here, of course, trying to become leader like you. We all. What is your take that what the leaders in this group should not do? We are given a lot of message that what we should do, how we should do, but what we should not do. Maybe one or two message.
There are a lot of things which you should not do. And first of all, as I said, is never be overconfident. Never ever be overconfident that you know it all. A leader does not mean that you know everything. The learning process never stops. Unless if the leader closes his or her ears, the end of your leadership. You have to be open to listen from your team. You have to be open to listen to. You get sometimes the best solutions from your team members. So as a leader, it's not a one-way dialogue that you're doing. It's only that you're giving. It's a collective dialogue, and I think a leader has to remember that you have to continue to learn. And I think I continue to learn. I continue to learn even today. The advantage of superannuation is that you could start doing many things which you did not do during your career and learn things to it. And I'm sure Dr. Kato and Dr. Gupta and others who are in that same thing will agree with me. You take on things. The other thing which general leaders confuse with is there's a very clear distinction between aggression and arrogance. You have to be aggressive sometimes about what you have to do to get your message. That doesn't mean you have to be arrogant. An arrogant leader will never have their team with them. You cannot just demand respect to come to people. You have to earn that respect. And that respect comes in naturally when they see you as a leader, when they see you performing. You have to lead by example. And I said that earlier. So I think these are two messages which I would really like to leave with you as to what you do not need. You don't need to be arrogant, should not be overconfident, and continue your learning always.
I think this is one of the very key message, because many times the arrogance automatically creeps in, particularly if there is no control on the emotions of many times directors or things like that. And that is often said. Just one small question before I ask Dr. Sanjeev to ask you one question. Ambition and over-ambition. What is the thin line?
Okay. So there is a big thin line about it, and that's why I said have an ambition, but don't be over-ambitious.
Yes.
Ambition is generally restricted to having an ambition for the organ. And I'll do what I said at that point of time, saying country first, organization next, self last. The ambition is always the larger ambition that you have in line with the vision that has been perceived. So your ambition is, how do I achieve this? And as I said, sky is also the limit. You can go beyond that. That's not being over-ambitious. Over-ambitious is when generally people put themselves first, do not realize their capacities and capabilities, and for their own self-interest, they are looking at something much larger, which is not in the interest of the organization and not really able to achieve, because that's really an interest of yourself. So if you're ambitious, you know what your vision is, you know how to succeed it, you have a path for it. But if you're looking at an ambition which is not aligned with the vision that you're looking at, but you're looking at it to try and see without the capabilities, without confidence, you're wanting to achieve something just for your own glorification, for glorifying your own self, or glorifying things that really I see as an overambition.
I think very practical definition, because many times we come across this conflict. He is very ambitious. He's overambitious. I think ambitious for a leader is good, but overambitious is a negative connotation, and we have to be very careful about this thin line. So you have very, very nicely given the example of what is ambitious and what is overambitious. Maybe Dr. Sanjeev will like to have one comment.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. I am currently working with you, ma'am, in the high-level expert group to transform NCDC. I have noticed two attributes in you. And my question is, did you cultivate these over a period of time, or you always had? One attribute is you are always patient to listen to everyone in the team, and we have had 12 meetings so far. Second attribute is, if somebody is not speaking in the group, you always encourage that person to speak. And when the person is speaking, your body language is very positive. The other person who's encouraged to speak continues to share his opinion independently. How did you have these two attributes? Did you cultivate, or you had it naturally?
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev, for noticing these or bringing them out. I think these are attributes which grow with you. And as I said, many times these qualities come to you even as children. You don't really have to be a leader to bring these in, The qualities cannot suddenly be brought in. As I said, I started by saying you can't teach leadership to somebody that level. These are qualities which come in right from the beginning. For me, even a young officer can be a team leader. And I think without having these qualities, it's for us to move ahead. And I said it to you right there that you have to continue to learn. And you can only learn when you allow others to speak and you hear them patiently. See, you may hear everybody. Eventually, when you're chairing groups, you're chairing committees, or you're chairing large decision-making fora, you take the right decision. Your decision may actually not agree with anything that has been said by everyone in the group, because as the leader of that, at that point of time, that's the right decision. But if you've not heard them out, or if you've not given everyone a chance to speak, it will not be an inclusive decision making. So you can hear everybody, but then as a leader, it's important for you to phrase it in a manner that doesn't seem that what they have said is also wrong, but you make it into a consensus decision. And I think that is key for a leader. That as a leader, the decision that you take should always be a consensus decision. So you even bring around those who have not been in line with what you said by picking up something from what they've said, because eventually everyone is looking at meeting the final objective and dovetailing it into the vision that you're doing. It's all about paraphrasing. It's all about, and I think here I give a lot of credit to my school teachers who taught us précis writing, who taught us comprehension, who taught us debates and oratory competitions. So they gave us that, confidence to be able to analyze things very quickly and bring them out there. So I think it's something that you have to grow with, to be able to deliver.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much, madam. I think यहाँ पे जितने लोग बैठे हैं, everybody will like to ask you or interact with you, but maybe I will request Dr. Kapil to have one full day session with you. Full day session means free interaction, free dialogue, and maybe half day with Dr. Kotoj and half day with you. I think that itself will be a treat for us.
We'll come over physically at that point of time and spend time with all of you.
That will be great.
Happy to do that.
So we would have continued, but I can see Dr. Kotoj, and he is also smiling. I can see always smiling. Both are always smiling face. So that is the beauty of this. So thank you very much, madam, for a wonderful discussion here.
Thank you.
We would have continued it, and I welcome Dr. Kotoj here.